And for anyone listening, eudaimonia, Socrates sort of, his theory at least, is that in order to have sort of a good life or a flourishing life, to a degree, good health, good finances, and good relationships. But when I was reading about eudaimonia, I realized that I had none of those three things.
Lenny Richardson discusses his discovery.
An application of eudaimonia,
a Greek philosophical concept meaning
the good life or human flourishing.
And that's kind of why I like to share eudaimonia so much, because even though it kind of, when you see it at the surface, it sounds simplistic and it sounds obvious. I think in the modern day, there's a push to be, for example, with finances, there's a big push nowadays that everyone needs to be a multimillionaire, or everyone needs to be a billionaire.
Oh, yeah.
With fitness, everyone needs to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or everyone needs to look like a model or whatever, or, I don't think that's true. I think the idea of eudaimonia is simply...
Welcome to It's Your Choice podcast. Today on the show, I have Lenny Richardson. Thank you, Lenny, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, Sally.
So, Lenny, you had a point in your life where you discovered eudaimonia. What is it and how did it transform your life?
So eudaimonia is essentially, it's sort of a Greek philosophical term that stands for the good life, or flourishing is loosely how it's defined. I kind of came across it years ago, probably about 10-ish years ago. Around that time, I kind of had a weird point. I kind of hit a weird point where I got kicked out of college twice. And it wasn't anything. It wasn't like I was a bad student. It wasn't anything that had to do with like drugs or the typical things that cause people to get kicked out. It was purely based on finances. And so that's kind of what led me down my self-improvement journey. And just kind of from wanting to improve myself, wanting to get in better shape, wanting to understand finances, especially because that was a big impact in my life. And just wanting to understand how to socialize better. I was really bad at socializing, very socially awkward. I went to the library, read a lot of books as much as I could, got deep into philosophy, and in philosophy is where I discovered eudaimonia. So that's kind of where that came from. And it's sort of coined by Socrates, but adopted by Aristotle, for anyone that's curious.
And so with that, how was it that made you change, or what within that discovery made you do the changes you needed to do?
Yeah. So when I kind of got into that whole self-improvement journey, really what prompted it is like I mentioned, I got kicked out twice. And I was kind of forced to be in a situation where I'm working full time, working multiple jobs. Wasn't, as a college student, I think I was around 21 or so. Everything kind of just came quickly and very unexpectedly. And so I'm kind of asking questions, but there's no one around me to give any good answers. I didn't want to talk to my parents about the situation. Perhaps they could have helped, but it's, when you're 21, sometimes you don't feel comfortable talking to your parents. At least I didn't all the time. The students around me, I went to Penn State. It's a very big party college. So not too many people, at least in my vicinity, that was interested in being super introspective or talking about this, how do we improve our lives? They're more interested in partying, which I totally understand.
Yep.
So I really had no one to answer my questions. And so I kind of just concluded, let me just go to the library, because at least books or, the internet will help me address any questions I have. One thing led to another, and that's kind of where I got into philosophy. Came across eudaimonia. And as I'm reading about eudaimonia and trying to understand exactly what it means, and for anyone listening, eudaimonia, like I mentioned, it's flourishing, but kind of just to go a little bit deeper, Socrates sort of, his theory, at least with eudaimonia, is that in order to have sort of a good life or a flourishing life, you need to have, to a degree, good health, good finances, and good relationships. And it sounds very basic and it sounds very simplistic and obvious. And in hindsight, I think it's obvious. But when I was reading about eudaimonia, I realized that I had none of those three things. I was in terrible shape from a combination of, terrible fast food in college, drinking too much, not exercising nearly as much as I should be. Finances, absent. Really terrible finances. Didn't know how to budget, didn't know how to spend money efficiently. At the time, I was working at a gas station and a bar, so wasn't really making that much money either.
Mm-hmm.
And relationships, pretty much non-existent. I didn't really have I had friends, but I didn't have a core group of friends that I could talk to about philosophy or introspection or how to become a better person, or if I had specific questions about finances or fitness or whatever. They're more of like the friends you just meet in class and you kind of hang out with, but they're not, they weren't really the type of people you go to for big problems, if that makes sense.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. And I even think of when I was that age, school doesn't really teach us about money at all.
No.
It doesn't teach us about relationships. And our friends are like, none of us are being taught that. So everybody is just wanting to have a good time, have fun, get through school. Most of us, our finances are not even there, or they're bad. And so we can relate at that age. And then some of us, we go through rough spots in life at a later age, and again can relate to all that because we're making changes, and the people around us aren't the people that are going to help us get to where we want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I think we often know that those things are missing, or at least if we really sit there, I think for a lot of people, say, for example, you check your bank account, you can check your bank account and say, oh, I wish I made more money. Or you might say, oh, I wish I was in better shape. I wish I looked better. Or maybe just I go up the stairs and I feel more exhausted than I know I should.
Yeah.
Which I've had that problem. That's why I say that specifically. But when I was kind of reading and learning more about eudaimonia, I kind of noticed I am deficient in all three of these areas. And I don't know, it's like, how do I not be deficient? So I think just knowing about this framework, it sort of creates the question, how do I improve? How do I improve on these three things? And that's kind of why I like to share eudaimonia so much, because even though it kind of, when you see it at the surface, it sounds simplistic and it sounds obvious. I think it's good for everyone to kind of constantly be thinking to themselves, how do I improve my finances? How do I improve my relationships? How do I improve my health? And for anyone listening, it doesn't, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. I think in the modern day, there's a push to be, I don't want to use exceptional is kind of the word, but I want to say almost too exceptional in any specific category. For example, with finances, there's a big push nowadays that everyone needs to be a multimillionaire, or everyone needs to be a billionaire.
Oh, yeah.
Or with fitness, everyone needs to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or everyone needs to look like a model or whatever. Or, I don't think that's true. I think the idea of eudaimonia is simply just try to get a little bit better in each category than you were before. It doesn't need to be excessive, but it just needs to be sufficient for whoever you are and for whatever your personal goals are.
Right. And I think though too, we need to think about, for most of us, I can't say all, but most of us have room for improvement in those areas to reach the level of us to be happy with ourselves. Like if somebody thinks they need to look like a supermodel or an Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're probably not going to be happy being in the gym all the time or working out or the diet or what they need to do. And if everybody looked like that, the world would be boring. I mean, we all need to be different. We all need to be ourselves, but we all also have room for improvement. Even, if we talked about, even if you're to be a millionaire, everybody should be a millionaire or multimillionaire. Well, some of those people, yes, they have a lot of money, but they also have room for improvement in those other two areas as well. Pardon the interruption. If you're liking the show so far, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. It really means a lot to me. It helps grow the show and the channel and to the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing about eudaimonia. It's always trying to get better in all three categories. I see this a lot in Northern Virginia. For anyone listening, it's considered the wealthiest county in America. Not to make people in Northern Virginia mad at me, but I come across plenty of people in Northern Virginia that on paper have a fantastic income. But that's all they have.
Right.
Health is completely lacking. Mindset's completely lacking. The ambitions lacking outside of what they do to make money. Relationships lacking. And further, by the way, I want to just say this. Sometimes when I bring up relationships, I think people interpret it as dating type relationships. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That can be a component of it, but it's also even platonic relationships or just your general social circle. Just want to make that clarification for anyone listening.
Yeah. Well, I think too, when we say, and I'm the same, when I talk about relationships, I mean intimate relationships, I mean social relationships with your friends, and I mean relationships with your family, your kids, your relatives, like all of those, your relationships with your colleagues, like relationships cover all of those things because they are a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those frameworks that I like to push a lot because I think it's easy to forget about. I typically recommend to people, if you don't know where to start, because I've had people ask, okay, you brought up eudaimonia. What do I do with this information? Where do I go with this? And I say, if you have a goal, work on that goal. Make sure it falls under one of those three pillars, as I like to call them. If you don't know where to start, I would say the first thing is start with fitness. And the reason why is because I think if you work with fitness, it has a trickle down effect.
Yes.
Again, this isn't about looking a certain way. This is just about feeling good, feeling like your body is moving the way it should. So if whoever's listening, if you feel like you're not, I guess, sufficient in that area, take some time to maybe do 20, 30 minutes of exercise. That can be stretching to feel more loose. Whatever it is, take a little bit of time to do that. If you, again, don't know where to begin, I would say do it for 4 months. Do it for 4 months, see where you're at. If you feel like you've kind of built up that pillar enough, move on to the next one for 4 months. And if that next one's finances, work on your finances for 4 months. That could be increasing your income. That can be just budgeting, paying off debt. It's different for everyone. But I think the real key is to kind of just constantly be working on those three pillars. And there's always something to work on in those three pillars because no one's perfect. It's impossible.
No, absolutely. Yeah, nobody's perfect. Everybody has room for improvement. And I do agree. I think before you were saying which one first, I already had in my head, I was like, fitness. Health, your health is the most important because when we're healthy, we have more energy.
Absolutely.
Right. And when we're moving, so when we have more energy, we can spend more time and our head is clearer, things like that, that our relationships improve and our finances can improve because maybe we can work overtime if you have a job where you get paid by the hour, or if you're starting something new, like you're just more clear mind to do more and you have more energy. And so there is, even though they're technically separate pillars, they still intertwine with each other, and working on one also affects the other two.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you literally explained it the way I would typically explain it. That's exactly right. I would say in every area, you start with fitness. It's from a energy perspective, and I bring this up. It can be a little bit controversial, but
I like controversial. I think that's good. We need to have a little bit more of open discussion, especially on controversial things.
But yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, so one thing I say that's controversial is even from let's say an aesthetics point of view with fitness, because I've had friends in the past who are trying to lose weight, and sometimes their self-talk is low because maybe their self-esteem is low because they see themselves as less than. And I'm not saying they are, but this is just me I've seen this in other people, and this has been my case with myself. I used to be overweight when I was younger. You start with fitness. Imagine if you are overweight, you lose weight, and there's something for anyone listening called the halo effect. Essentially, what the halo effect is that people perceive you based on the way you look. It's kind of crappy, but when
it's reality though.
It's reality.
Let's be honest, it's reality. Like we need to work with reality.
Yeah, exactly. So people say don't judge a book by its cover. It's a great ideal, and people should definitely try to do it. But the reality is that a lot of people, our subconscious minds kick in. We make judgments, we make assessments. It doesn't always work that well, that ideology of don't judge a book by its cover. So people will judge you based on the way you look sometimes, probably more often than not, unfortunately. So even with fitness, from an aesthetics point of view, it still helps to look better. You don't, again, not Arnold. I want to make this clear. You don't have to look like Arnold. You don't have to look like a Victoria's Secret model or whatever, Men's Health magazines, it doesn't matter. But just looking better will affect the way you perceive yourself, which is a plus. And it affects the way other people perceive you, which again, still has that trickle down effect. If you show up to a job and people think you look more competent, that could increase your income. There have been studies that the way you dress, the way you speak, the way you look, sad as it is, affects your income. Relationships, obviously from a dating perspective, looking good is a factor in dating. But if you're trying to, this is a kind of a funny story, actually. We were out, me and some friends, not too long ago, and we met this one guy. He was about 6'7" or 6'6". Very handsome guy.
Okay. And very tall. That's very tall as well. Yeah.
The amount of attention this guy got from just, obviously, of course, from walking into a room, he stands out a lot. But dudes want to be his friend because he stands out. He's a good looking guy. Girls want to talk to him, of course. Nothing wrong with that. But as sad as it is, again, might be controversial. I don't think he'd have that exact same effect even if he were the same height, if he were 400 pounds, not to throw anyone on the bus if they are 400 pounds, but I don't think he'd have that same effect walking into a room. So again, that's why I say health, I think if you don't know where to start, you can't really go wrong with health. It just has such a massive trickle down effect into every other pillar. So,
yeah. No, I completely agree. And like, even like any of us who knows that, and I would say the vast majority of us who have been on a diet at some point in our life, or we've wanted to lose weight or just tone up a little bit, that when we look better, we feel better. Like you said, it's more confidence. And I can even just say that, even if it's not a weight issue, ladies, we wear makeup. Why do we wear makeup? Because we look better with makeup. And that's why I put on. And some men also wear makeup. So I'm not leaving the men out either. But why do we do it? We do it because we feel better, because we look better. And when we look better, we feel better. We're more confident. I'm speaking for myself. Like, I have times I don't care. I'm going to the gym. I don't wear makeup at the gym because I'm going to work out and sweat and look gross. Like, that's total my goal for the gym. But when I'm not, and sometimes even if I'm just at the grocery store and I'm like, oh shoot, I don't have any makeup on. So I sometimes wear glasses. They're more for seeing far away, but I'll wear glasses just to kind of be like, oh, I cover up my face a little bit when I have glasses since I'm not wearing any makeup. And it's a shallow, superficial thing. It's very natural. There's times where I don't wear makeup if I'm at the beach and things like that. Of course, I'm not going to, but if I'm going out, I wear makeup. I'm wearing makeup right now because on the podcast, it's out for whoever to see. And I feel more comfortable because I feel like I look better. So I have better confidence when I wear makeup. And so we all do these things. And so whether it is the weight loss or makeup or the clothing that we wear, it's whatever it is to make us feel more comfortable. But the health wise, though, I think is not only just that confidence, but our health is so important, because how can we do good with our finances and do good with our relationships if we're sick? If we have like even colds, flus, like, and nothing major, let alone potential other illnesses and things like that really do affect us, it all starts with our health.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It all starts with your health. So yeah, I would 1000% recommend that. And like I said, every 4 months, just work on one. It doesn't need to be crazy or extreme, but you work on one of those pillars throughout the entire year. I think most people, if they commit themselves to that, they would make super amazing, I'll call it gains in their life. They'll see their lives improve tremendously, I think.
Pardon the interruption. If you're enjoying this episode and you're someone who values performance, clarity, and personal growth, then you're going to love my Mind Matters weekly newsletter. Every week, I send out a quick, powerful piece designed to help high achievers like you master your mindset, upgrade your habits, and lead with more clarity and fulfillment. It's not fluff, it's science backed, actionable, and easy to digest. It as your weekly reset button to realign with the leader you're becoming. So if you want to go deeper than what we've covered here on the show, then head over to www.sallypederson.com. That's me, and subscribe. Your next breakthrough just might be one email away. Now back to the show. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. But we're going to, potentially some people might be thinking, I know, I agree. I need to work on that, but I don't have time. I'm too busy. I just, between everything, like I don't have time. How would you get people to maybe reevaluate their schedules and their time? Because we all have 24 hours. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. Every person in this world has 24 hours. So what types of things do you get people to look at to find the time to work on their health, or if it's a different pillar that they're working on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I hear people say they don't have time, that like agitates me because I've always said to people in the past, if you say you don't have time, you're lying, because everyone has the exact same amount of hours in the day. So if you see someone else who is doing something that you want to do, the best thing to do is simply look at what they're doing, what you're doing, compare the two, and just try to do more of what they're doing. Which of course can be easier said than done, but of course it doesn't mean that it's impossible, which should be enlightening for a lot of people. As far as kind of getting to the point where they can manage their time to get those things done, I talk about this a lot. I've talked about this in other podcasts. Any of my personal videos, I bring this up all the time. I would say have a planner. That's the first thing I recommend to most people. Start with a planner. The reason why I say this is because I tend to find that a lot of people, they'll say they don't have time. Having a planner forces you, assuming you're using it correctly, having a planner forces you to kind of see your day, kind of like you have to look at your day. I think throughout the day, people spend time on things and they don't really factor how much time they spend on things. For example, you might wake up let's just say you wake up at 8 a.m., you go on social media for an hour, time flies. You don't realize it's been an hour. You drive to work. You're driving in work. Maybe it takes you an hour to drive to work. You're at work from, I'm making up these numbers, let's say 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then you get back home from work. You want to work out. You want to go over your budget. You want to socialize, but you start scrolling again, or you watch Netflix to kind of just decompress after work. You go on YouTube and watch a few videos. Maybe you want to be productive, so you watch a few YouTube videos. They might watch your podcast or listen to it because they want to improve their lives. They spend 2 hours doing that. Next thing they know, it's 8, 9 p.m. and they might have had the best intentions, but objectively, besides going to work, nothing's been done. If you have a planner, you'll see that and say, oh, I spent 6 hours doing nothing, essentially, outside of watching your podcast, which would be productive.
That's right. It's productive to watch this.
But it's like I've actively done nothing towards my goals.
Mm-hmm.
So the planner helps you kind of sit there and say, okay, I can remove this. I can remove the 3 hours of social media scrolling that I did. I can decrease my Netflix consumption from 2 hours to 1 hour or 30 minutes. And then where all of those gaps are, I can put in an hour of working out or even 20 minutes. 20 minutes is perfect amount of time. I can put in 30 minutes here to budget. Maybe if I need more money, I can put in an extra hour here instead of coming home right away, an hour here to do overtime, if I really need to. Or if I want to start a business, I can put in an hour or two here from 6 to 7 or 6 to 8, whatever, to work on that business. So this is why I say the planner is the first place to start, because it really lets you see how you're spending your time, assuming you're being honest. And
right.
Once you see how you're spending your time, you can almost drag and drop the pieces of your planner to make it work for you. And again, some people do have very busy schedules. This is why I say pick a goal, work on that goal specifically for about 3-4 months, and then reassess where you are after that 3 or 4 month period. If going back to the pillars of eudaimonia, if you really want to get in shape and you think that's where you're the most efficient and it's something that's top of your mind, perfectly fine. Schedule's too busy, perfectly fine. Just get in an hour every day to walk around the neighborhood or go to the gym, whatever. There's always ways to make it work. 1 hour, if you can't spare 1 hour per day to work on your biggest goal, I would say that at that point, there's probably an issue with priorities, or it's probably more of a mental block. You just think you can't do it, but in reality, you certainly could do it. But yeah, that's where I would start with the planner. Very first thing.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I'm glad that you said it's an issue with priorities. I can't remember now if I was at a seminar or listening to a podcast or something, that somebody said, when people tell them that they're too busy to do something, whether it is like the finances or meditation or health or whatever, first of all, there's the ones who need it the most, if they say that they're too busy. And also they said that, in whatever it may be that we're talking about, say, oh, I don't have time to eat healthy, go to the gym, do up a budget, whatever it may be, and then follow it up by, because it's not a priority.
Exactly.
Because then it's like, it's a bit of an ouch, like that kind of hurts the soul or the gut. It's a bit of a stab when we say it. So I've lived on and off in Spanish speaking countries for years, and my Spanish is still horrendous, like so bad it's embarrassing. And I can't even believe I'm bringing it up because I usually don't want to talk about it. But when I heard that, and then I think, oh, well, I don't speak Spanish very well because, and then instead of all the excuses that I could give, if I just said, it's not a priority, it's like, oh, and that's the factual truth. It has not been a priority, because if I used to live in Canada and I come back and visit, but I usually try to avoid winter. If I was in Canada in the winter time and my furnace went out, I would make the time to be at my place whenever the furnace guy was coming. And usually they would say, oh, between, let's say 9 and noon on such and such a date, make arrangements. I would miss work from home, do whatever between 9 and noon to make sure I was there, because getting that heat is a priority.
Right,
and so
exactly.
If we phrase things of, oh, I need to do up a budget, but it's not a priority, it really kind of makes us rethink, instead of, oh, but I don't have time, but I'll do it later. But nope, just say, but it's not a priority. And if we say that to everything, it's pretty interesting. And one that hit hard, it wasn't for me, but they were saying it because they were dealing with families. And somebody was saying, my kids always have homework and they have so much, and I just don't have time to help them with their homework. And it was like, well, rephrase that of, I don't help my kids with their homework because it's not a priority.
Yes.
That's like, that hurts when it's like, oh my gosh, but it is factually true.
Yeah.
Because we make time for what is a priority. And I get we have a long list of priorities, but what is those top ones that are the most important? Which ones do we say are really important, but Are they really? And then also with what you said with scrolling, and I've done it so many times. I go to grab my phone. Oh, I'm going to look up something because I need to know something. And whatever news highlight comes up or YouTube clip or whatever. Oh, that's an interesting clip. I'm just going to watch this clip and then I will go to whatever I'm going to look up or do on my phone or information to find out. And then, yep, that clip. And then it's another clip and another. And all of a sudden, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And, oh my God. And then I think, what was I going to do on my phone again? I don't remember. And then I have to go back and figure out what I was doing. And I've just wasted an hour of time. So I understand how easy it is to do those things. So we really just have to be aware of how we're spending our time and what our priorities really are.
Yeah, definitely. I made a video, I think, on YouTube. I don't know if it's out or if I scheduled it or not yet. But essentially what I said in the video is, in the modern era, your attention is it's really an expensive commodity. It's like every social media platform, every news outlet, every TV show, everything you can think of is on a mission to hijack your attention. So if you can't focus effectively, and essentially if they're hijacking your attention, they're stealing your time, or at least I guess you can say you've given them consent to give them your time because you're using their platform. But either way, their goal is to get as much time and attention from you as possible. So if you don't have safeguards against their very intelligent engineers who are really putting in billions of dollars to make sure, I bring this up because I was victim to this the other day. I was having a conversation with my friend. I know this is a little bit of a side tangent, but it's funny when you brought that up about opening the phone and you see news things. I'm convinced that our phones are always just listening in.
Oh, they are.
I'm convinced.
Me too.
I literally the other day I was talking to my friend about we were talking about Studio Ghibli. I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's kind of like an animation company. They have, I guess, this new AI image converter that's super viral now. I brought them up, and within about 5 minutes, I go to open my phone to do something, and I see all these news articles about Studio Ghibli and this AI conversion, and then I'm scrolling and I see everyone converting their images. I think I spent myself about like an hour just reading these articles, and then I sent my friend a text, and I'm like, they are listening to our conversations because they knew exactly what to send me to get my attention, to make me stop whatever it is I wanted to do, to focus on these news articles. So I bring that up just to say that it's advanced. Everything that they're doing is crazy advanced. And if you're not really focusing on techniques or strategies or ways to kind of safeguard your attention and focus more, it's going to be impossible to build those pillars up. It's going to be impossible to improve your life in any substantial way, at least in my opinion.
You know, I completely agree. And I'm glad you brought that up. And I am in 100% agreement that our phones are listening to us 24/7. I've had instances. One time I was visiting some friends and I took my jacket off and my coat was left at the front door. My phone was in my bag. I was there for hours, never took my phone out of my purse. Like it never came out at all. I was there for hours and we were talking about a bunch of stuff. And one was a musician and this music that he had out and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I've never heard of him. And whatever, the next day or whatever it was later, when I pulled out my phone, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. That was that guy we were just talking about yesterday. I've never heard of him, never saw a clip, anything. And all of a sudden now there's more. So absolutely. I believe it is listening. And like you said, I mean, they're spending millions or billions of dollars for this technology to keep us there. And I've said probably for decades now, time is your most valuable asset.
Yes.
For every person. Like my time is my most valuable asset. I, like everybody, only have 24 hours in a day. However, I don't know how many days I have.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could be years, it could be decades, it could who knows. And so therefore it is my most valuable asset. It's worth more than what I make for money wise. Like it's more than an hourly wage. It's more than anything. Like it is the most valuable. And if we also kind of think about it that way of how much time I'm giving my phone, how much time am I giving YouTube or Instagram or whatever? And I'm not saying it because these platforms are bad. I've learned a lot and I get great tips off of things that I look at, but I really try to work with the algorithm on the things that I like, the things that I comment, the things where I'll stop to read, because there's been times that I want to click on something and, because I'm just reading the headline, I'm like, is that clickbait? And then the other part is, do I want more of this in my feed? And if I'm just kind of curious about something, then no. If I really am, I'll go onto my computer and then maybe like do the search and read the article or whatever on my computer, because I don't really kind of do any scrolling type thing on my computer. And so I try to keep that off my phone. So then what does come up, hopefully for the most part anyway, is stuff that I'm interested in, people that I want to follow, information that I want to know. And I really consciously try to do that, because I know whatever I click on and things, it's going to feed me more. So there is a way to sort of be strategic with it. But again, it comes back to, we've got to be on top of it. We need to be aware all the time of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I tell people a lot, this is what works for me very well. I've noticed that a lot of people, I don't think they really, I won't say that they don't value their time, but I think because time is so abstract and because they don't see it, they allow it to easily slip away. Like it's easy to kind of be somewhere or doing something and lose track of time because you can't see it. There was a movie me and my now wife, then girlfriend, were watching with Justin Timberlake. I can't remember the name of the movie. I think it's from the 2000s. And the whole concept is that there are the rich people and the poor people, and the poor people are just literally working for time. And I think everyone kind of has on their wrist, like you can look at your wrist and it shows how much time you have left to live.
Oh, I think I've seen clips of that. I haven't seen the movie, but I think I've seen video clips because it sounds familiar.
It's an amazing movie. I recommend everyone watch it. I, of course, someone who talks about time, love the movie. I think that's why she suggested it to me. But the whole movie, he's kind of like just checking his time, and you're allowed to kind of barter with time or exchange it for whatever. You can sell your time away for services, or if you want to get more time, you can sell something else. And so the rich people live essentially forever because they've learned how to, I guess, get more time from the poor people, and the poor people just get money to survive. But it creates this weird feedback loop because they get money, but now they have a few days to live. So now they have to find a way to get more time to use the money. So I bring this up because I would say, I think if more people saw each hour as if it were money, they would spend their time more wisely. And so sometimes I literally will say that if I have clients or just people in general that I know, if you have a goal and you're not accomplishing it, but you watch, say, Netflix for 3 hours a day, let's say you work a job, you make $50,000 a year. Let's say every hour that you work is $25 an hour. You know, we'll minimize it. Your time is worth worse, but let's just give it a number. Are you okay paying $75 every single day to watch Netflix?
That's an interesting perspective to put. I bet people would go, no, I wouldn't do that. But you are.
But you are. Yeah, effectively you are. It's like, really, it's worse because your time is worth more than, I would say, like your employer technically always gives you less than what you're worth.
Yes.
So, but let's just say you're worth $25 an hour. You're spending $75 just to watch Netflix for 3 hours. This is not including the time you scroll on social media. This is not including the time you have. People get mad at me, my friends, because I don't always take a lot of phone calls. The reason why is because a lot of phone calls, I like talking to people. I'm not antisocial, but sometimes you get a phone call. It's at a random time when you're in the middle of something. They call and they say, hi, just wanted to catch up. How are you? How's your day? Good. Oh, me too. What you been up to? That's fine. I'm not against that, but it's just, I think it's good to be mindful of how even phone conversations go. So you stack on the 3 hours of Netflix with the 1.5 hour conversation or 2 hour conversation you had with your buddy that you'll see this weekend. stack that on with the hours of scrolling, social media. You've spent a couple $100 in one day alone. Now, I say that to people, and I would say, now imagine you open your bank account, and every time you open your bank account, that money is gone for all these activities that you're doing. How would you feel? And people go, oh, that would suck a lot. That's a lot of money. Yes, it is a lot of money. And that's the minimum. You're losing a lot more. So I don't know.
And that's every day.
That's every day.
And that's every day. That's not just once a week. That's every day.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Whenever I think about that too, I had a friend who, he had a bad habit of wasting time. And which is funny because to kind of put it bluntly, I make fun of him for this, so I'm sure he'll be fine with me saying this. He's a bit stingy with money.
Okay.
He once told me, how would you feel if he found $1 and he got really excited? And I told him, I was like, that's a bit excessive, your level of excitement for $1. And he goes, how would you feel if someone took $1 out of your bank account? And I said, to be honest, if it was just $1, I probably wouldn't notice it that much because it's just $1. But I was like, it's funny that you're excited to get $1, but yet you're not upset when you waste time just watching Netflix or scrolling. Like this is funny to me. I think a lot of people are kind of the same in that scenario, but yeah, I think if more people are mindful of how much their time is worth, they wouldn't be as willing to waste it.
Absolutely. And I mean, I love the way that you do that, because sometimes, as you said, like we don't think about time. Really, many people don't. I do, because I've had many people in my life pass away, and it seems like some years are worse than others. And starting from when I was 6 years old, and so from a young age, I kind of started to realize, like, okay, death happens. Didn't really get it so much way back then, but getting into my teenage years and adulthood. And like, we just never know. And I mean, I've known people to pass from very young, friends when I was a teenager, to like in December, my mom passed away. And so, and she wasn't very old. And so like, I know that we just never know. And so I've spent a lot of time, as I said earlier, for decades, seeing time is our most valuable asset, because we never know, and how we spend it. And I've often said to friends, like, for some reason, I always use, if I get hit by a bus. Hopefully I'll never get hit by a bus. I use that so often. I'm just like, I use it so much, it better not ever happen. But I said, like, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow and I died, it would suck, because there's still a lot of things that I want to do. But I've done so many things, and I've had so many experiences, that part of me, I would be okay. I'd be like, I'm going to miss out on things, obviously, and there's more that I want to do. But I know I've done more already than most people who are double my age. And so that's how I use time. And it's not just like, it's not a financial aspect. I've had so many experiences and things that I love to do, and things like that. And I try to make sure I use my time wisely. And yeah, I have weekends where I have binged Netflix. Like, I don't have Netflix, but if I go over to a friend's, or sometimes I do house sitting and pet sitting, and they may have Netflix. And so when I'm there, occasionally I'll binge a series, like sometimes like a full series over the time that I'm there. So it's a lot. But then I'll go months and months and months and never watch a TV show, not watch anything at all. Because also I enjoy my work. I love what I do, and I would rather be working on whatever I'm working on, like whether it's this podcast and getting episodes and promoting and things. Like, I enjoy what I do. So I think that's also part of using our time wisely, is enjoying what we do, having experience, and doing things that actually fulfill us. And I go through too, that I know, like right now, I need to get back on that physical fitness pillar and make that a priority, because it's kind of fallen off the last little while for me. But I also know that's part of life. I'll get back on it. I'll get back into that. And then it'll be, oh, well, I need to work on something else. So it's kind of when people talk about a work-life balance, I don't really like that, because there really isn't a balance. We need to kind of integrate it. So we're doing what we enjoy doing. We're still doing some physical activity. We're still working on our budget. We're still working on those relationships, because those are the core things that we need for fulfillment. Lots of people say they want to be happy, to me, happiness, it comes and goes. We're not happy all the time. So it is that fulfillment of like, I like, well, I tell myself I like jogging. Like I do like it, but hate it. I hate starting that first 10 minutes, 2 kilometers, whatever it is that I'm running. Every time I'm like, oh God, this sucks. I hate this. But I push through because I know I get into a rhythm, then I don't mind it. And when I'm done, I feel so great. And I feel great for the rest of the day because I've done it. And so I do that, push through a little bit of the dislike. So I'm not happy to get to the happiness, to the fulfillment. And then the ripple effects of that I know are longer lasting as well.
Yes. Yeah. I 1000% agree with everything you just said. There was something I was going to say, and now I just kind of course, as I open my mouth, it escapes me. When you brought up the Netflix thing too, I just want to bring this up because sometimes I know I'll talk about the time thing and I'll talk about how much time is worth. And sometimes I've seen people kind of, I think, miss at least most of the message I'm trying to share. I don't think Netflix is bad. For anyone listening, Netflix is not bad. Video games aren't bad. Hanging out with your friends or just wasting time, I don't think is bad. I don't suggest people don't do those things. I always just suggest you have to curate your day effectively so that way you're getting done what needs to be done. But don't completely erase all the fun stuff that might not lead to any long-term goal as well. Like me and my wife, one of my guilty pleasures is reality TV. I love reality TV. Me and my wife literally just watched, what is that? It's on Netflix. Temptation Island. There's a show called Temptation Island. We didn't binge watch it, but we watched like 2 or 3 episodes every day for the past few days. I don't feel guilty doing that because I schedule my day so that way the work gets done first. And then by the end of the day, I can just relax guilt-free. So I just want to, because you brought up binging Netflix, which is perfectly fine. I just want to make it clear because someone might be listening and say, they just said I shouldn't listen to Netflix.
No Netflix ever. Get rid of it. No.
Only work all day, every day.
All the time. No, not and it depends on really what works for each person. Like that works for me that I can go a long time without watching it. And then I meet with friends and they watch more. They're like, oh, you got to watch this. Let's watch it. And okay, because I'm hanging out with them. I know that I'm going to be doing this and that's okay. And then, other times, like I really enjoy working. And there was an episode on a clip or something that I saw with Alex Hermosi. And he works a lot. And he said he went on vacation. Him and his wife went on vacation. And after about a day and a half, they were bored. They're like, I want to go back to work. They're like, we love what we do. And you know what? If you love what you do, great. And there's going to be people that, don't want to have a business, don't want to do this. And if that's you, great. And if you like, Netflix and things like it's good. You have to do what works for you that makes you feel fulfilled.
Yes.
Right. But we can't be saying, I want A, but I'm always doing B because that doesn't work. Then just either start doing A or to get to A, or just stop saying that you want A because your actions are speaking louder than your words.
Yes. Yeah. I just want to bring this up too, because you just remind me of something really big. I tend to find a lot of times people, what's a good way to put this? Sometimes people chase, in my personal opinion, and from what I've observed, they chase a version of success that's not really what they want. And I think that's also what keeps people from being fulfilled. If kind of going back to the millionaire billionaire thing, everyone might say around you, you should be a millionaire, you should be a billionaire. And so you start chasing these goals and you start working in these jobs that you don't want to do or that isn't fulfilling to get this high income that doesn't really matter to you. And for some people, let's say you do get it, they might sort of say, it wasn't really worth it, or I still feel like something's missing. I always tell people, specifically clients, what are your goals? Where do those goals come from? Are those goals your goals, or are they the goals of society, your friends, your family, some dude you saw on TV, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
If they're someone that's not yourself, before we go anywhere, before you do anything, take half an hour, 45 minutes, a day, a week, whatever it takes. List every goal that you want for yourself that you believe will make you feel fulfilled. Then from there, break it down. Try to narrow it down to one to three things, and then just pick one. Pick the one that matters the most, and just focus on that for 4 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it takes to see some true progress. Don't be concerned about. I want to bring this up too, because sometimes people, they feel bad when they don't do something 7 days a week.
Oh,
And it's like you're going to fall off the wagon. When you mentioned earlier, like jogging and working out, everyone falls off the wagon in every goal that they have. It's to me, it's a part of life. Just get back on the wagon. Once you fall,
no, it's so true. We do it. Everything that we do, we have moments where we fall off, whether it's intentional or unintentional. We get sick.
yeah,
People get sick sometimes. You fall off because you get sick of no matter what, anything that you were doing. And once you feel better, you just back on.
just get back on. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Alex and Layla, they take a week vacation, or at least that's their intention. To some, it might look like they've fallen off the wagon. They're not working as hard as they usually do. Okay, we worked 4 days. It's back to work, back to business. That's perfectly fine. You don't need to do something every waking hour of the day or 7 days a week in order to build success in that area, so to speak.
Right.
I kind of a slight side tangent. Well, another thing I've been trying to kind of push on people a lot, at least according to research from what I've seen, the three kind of, I guess, variables that lead to success in any goal or category, grit, consistency, and iteration. One of the big ones, consistency. You just need to be consistent at what you're doing. If your goal is to build your health pillar, it's not, in my personal opinion and experience, there's no perfect diet. There's no perfect workout routine. Those things don't exist. The best diet or workout routine is just the one that's most sustainable. In other words, the one that allows you to be the most consistent. When it comes to money, there's no perfect job. There's no perfect way to, Dave Ramsey has like a snowball method of paying off debt. There's lots of different ways to kind of budget. There's no perfect way. The best way is the way that works for you as an individual. Same with relationships. There's no perfect way to talk to girls or talk to guys or meet random people on the street if you want friends. It doesn't exist. The best way is the way that that allows you to be as consistent as possible. Hopefully that made sense. But
no, absolutely. And I 100% agree. And somebody's consistent in working on any of those things. It could be, it works for me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I spend 30 minutes a day. That's my consistent. But that's consistent, and that helps. And then as time goes by, you may be able to build upon that. It may be then more days a week, or maybe those days you get in an extra 15 minutes. So now it's 45 minutes, and we build about that. So consistency doesn't mean every single day. It doesn't mean an hour a day, and it doesn't mean it's all or nothing. And some of that is, okay, great. For this month, this is going to work for me, but next month I've got these things coming up. So where can I work it a little bit or rearrange the schedule to still, maybe then I have to change instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday to Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for that month, but it's still consistent of 3 days a week if that is the goal or that what works. And I think that's really important for people to understand is consistency is what works for you and your schedule. And that can change over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings us full circle back to the planner. If you have a planner, it's easy to see how consistent was I this year. Oh, I thought I was consistent, but only from January through March did I actually do anything toward my goal. Then April I fell off and I forgot to get back on the wagon. That's okay.
Right.
But then next year we now know, okay, I got to get past March and then keep it going. We got to figure out why I fell off in the first place.
Right.
So yeah, consistency I think is a big thing that people kind of, I think people sometimes want to go too big, too fast. Sorry for the random stories. I have lots of stories.
It's all right.
I had a friend years ago. She had a New Year's resolution of she wanted to run like a marathon, I believe.
Okay.
And so I told her, I was like, "That's a fantastic goal. How often do you run, and how often will you run?" And she goes, "I haven't run since high school. This is back when we were in college." I was like, "Okay. Well, how many days a week do you plan on running?" "I don't know yet." "Okay." After a few months, I think she ran once or twice.
It's not going to get you to a marathon anytime soon.
Yes, yeah. Needless to say, she did not complete her resolution of running the marathon, not even close. That's not me trying to shame her in any way. That's just me bringing up that for a lot of people, I think when they have goals or resolutions, they fall into that same trap of maybe the goal's too big and they don't break it down enough. And because they don't break it down enough, they're not consistent with whatever those micro steps are. Or maybe they have certain ideals of, maybe in her case, she probably thought January is going to hit. I'm going to go to the gym and run 5 days a week. Sounds good on paper, a little bit unrealistic when you haven't run since high school. So you can do once a week, like you mentioned, one to 3 times a week is perfectly fine. 20 minutes, a couple minutes a day, just to build consistency. So that way you can get to that long-term goal.
Right. And also what helps with that, so I've ran marathons.
Okay.
So yeah, so when you had that, I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna cut it. But I did start like I would go to the gym. So to the gym, I'd run for 20 minutes or so. And I signed up for a full marathon and I had 4 months to train. And I'd really never truly ran outside or a lot. But I joined. So when I did it, I joined a fundraising group for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So it always gave me a push too. So I was doing fundraising and then I was training with a group of people, and a lot of them were new runners as well. So we weren't in it to win it. We were just in it to finish it. and that helped with the group. And then it was a full schedule. These are the days we run this far. And it was a calendar, so we knew where we were at and what we needed to do on which days to reach that goal. And we all ran the marathon. We all finished and achieved the goal. And so we do have to look at those things. And so getting help, whether it is joining a group or getting some coaching or working with somebody who's done it before, those things also help us to reach those goals. So we're not just in it by ourselves, which sometimes reaching some goals by ourselves are pretty lonely. And so when we can work with others, it's also really, really helpful as well to get us there.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Accountability is a massive contributor to success in whatever goal you have. I think it's a very underrated tool, in my opinion.
I agree completely. Well, Lenny, before we wrap up here, if people wanted to work with you, to find out more information about you, to get to know you more, where can they find you?
So if you're interested I do offer coaching to people, to professionals. If you're interested, my business's website is productivityaccelerator.org. Anyone can check that out. If anyone's interested in talking to me directly, I would say the best way is Instagram. I am on Instagram, not a lot. I don't respond quickly. I'll put that out there. But I do respond eventually on Instagram.
Okay.
My Instagram is Leviticus Rich. It's a little bit tough for a lot of people to spell, but it's kind of like Leviticus.
I'll make sure we have links in the show notes for everything. So
okay, perfect.
It'll be in there. Yeah.
And then if you want to contact me on my website is lennyrichandson.online. Feel free to shoot me an email there.
Great. And like I said, I will make sure we have links for all of that in the show notes to make it easy for everyone to connect. And once again, Lenny, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Sally. I appreciate you having me on. It's a fantastic time.